This is VK3SL. We're testing here on 160 and 2 meters and back on board. Yes, well, it's been an interesting week. I actually had this amazing dream this week. Last night when I went to bed, I had this vivid dream of staying out somewhere quite remarkable, being cramped with about 18 inches between my head and the ceiling. It's one of those containment dreams. Other things transpired, and then I found myself at the dock, ready to get on a boat. It was an amazing voyage on the seas. It was actually a voyage across Bass Strait. And we arrived on this amazing island. This is a part of the dream. This was one island out of 3. Anyhow, this situation lingered on and on and on, and it became more and more pleasurable. I felt myself compelled. I felt myself brought into this other world, this remarkable experience, and it prevailed for some time. And then, all of a sudden, I realized it was all a dream. This is VK3SL.
Shining bright above you, night breezes seem to whisper I love you. Birds singing in the sycamore tree, dream a little dream of me. Say nighty night and kiss me, just hold me tight and tell me you'll miss me while I'm alone and blue as can be. Dream a little dream of me. Stars fading, but I linger on, dear, still craving your kiss. I'm longing to linger till dawn, dear, just saying this. Sweet dreams till sunbeams find you, sweet dreams that leave all worries behind you. But in your dreams, whatever they be, dream a little dream of me.
This is VK3SL. We're testing here on 160 meters and 2 meters. There's a streaming service as well. And if you feel so inclined, you can look me up on qrz.com and find the link. There are several links there, and one of them is the family blogspot page, which provides a connection to the Broadwave streaming service. So that may be a preferential way to work if you're feeling you're struggling with the quality of the service. But I am actually testing in narrowband FM, as has been the case for the last few months. And using a Codan PA, we did extensive tests this afternoon, and a big stress test with the power supply and the Codan PA, and it sort of had lasted the distance. So I'm reasonably confident we'll get a night's worth tonight. Anyhow, back on board, and yes, that was an amazing dream I had. I just thought I'd share that with you because sometimes dreams can come true, sometimes they don't, sometimes they linger, but it's always it's always a good thing having a good dream. Now, what have we got on the turntable? I've got a light beam record lined up, and I'm just thinking my way through this process because I've only just walked in. We've had visitors tonight. We've had a big night, big social night. Seems to be the case these days. We've been having social nights on Fridays, and I just waltzed out here a minute ago, but I think I've got the steel needle ready. And a light beam record to cut the ice. This is VK3SL on 160 metres and 2 metres. Oh, those splatting drums, the cymbals. Yes, that was Eddie Golden and his orchestra from 1925, late 25, I expect, and that's on one of those Brunswick light beam records, sounding very good with the magnetic pickup, I have to say. And I'm turning the record over because I wouldn't mind hearing the other side. That is quite impressive and full of 1920s syncopated vibe. Now, what's the other side? Just around the corner, it says. Yes, Ernie Golden and his Hotel McAlpine Orchestra. So we'll slap it on the platter, slapping the shellac on the platter. We'll get the pickup in place, and we'll have another example of this 1920s music. VK3SL testing. Well, don't those choked cymbals sound so vibrant with all of that intermod distortion? And we're listening to the music of Eddie Golden and his Hotel McAlpine Orchestra, recorded back in about 1925 on one of those Brunswick Lightway records, which reproduced surprisingly well on the with the magnetic pickup. Very vibrant sound. I was quite hypnotised here. I was sort of standing there in suspended animation, not even thinking about what I was going to do next. And it's a good record. I didn't even know I had that. That's one of those serendipitous grab-off-the-shelf offerings. But let's have another one of those. And what we got here, it's Arthur Lally's Millionaires. That's a Decca, and it's from 1932. So let's see how this goes. VK3SL testing.
again. Ain't got much money, but I've got the sun above. Life's sweet as honey, 'cause I've got the one I love. I'm singing a new song, and it isn't a blue song. It's a new P42 song, my bluebird back again.
Okay, there we go. That's an example of music from the early 30s on a Decca. My Bluebird's back again, and we're testing here on 160 metres and 2 metres. Time-honoured tradition. We've been doing it for, well, gosh, over 2 years now. Yes, time marches on, and this is one of those strange egocentric indulgences that has actually possessed me. It's like a disease. And eventually it'll consume me completely, and I'll be turning the transmitter off and just playing records to myself. That's probably the end product of this, but in the meantime, things are working reasonably well, and we have a system that has been tried and tested, and of course this does provide an opportunity for people to test their receivers. Those of you who have means to slope detect, especially if you've got old receivers, you can slope detect and check things out and make sure that you find that sweet spot where it all works well. I was doing that this afternoon. I was driving around finding the sweet spot by listening to Delia Derbyshire, and we listened to her dream sequence, which is very ethereal, very good for the wet weather. And of course that's the subject of this evening, dreams. I've had a really vivid dream the other night. I don't know where it came from, but anyhow, that's what happens. All right, we'll continue now, and we'll look up at the list. And what do we have? What do we have on the table? We have a vintage Japanese record on a Columbia, a Nippon Columbia, recorded in somewhere in Japan. Can't see. Anyhow, we'll have a listen to this, and I'm sure it'll be very evocative, and it'll transport people back to old world Japan before the Yankees took hold. VK3SL testing. that was special. I had no idea. Very, very, I don't know, something otherworldly about that recording. And it's always good to explore this little vault of vintage Japanese music. Going back to the 1930s and 40s, quite a collection. And here, and I have no idea who they are, who the artists are, but the music is, as I said, otherworldly, really. All right, we're testing here on 160 metres, 2 metres, and the usual thing. If you're new to this, it's a thing we've been doing regularly for quite some time, and it's a disease. It's something that's in my bloodstream, and it's a form of expression, but it's also an opportunity to divulge myself of the enormous stacks of shellac which provide a lot of thermal mass to these shelves here. Yes, it's a crazy disposition. All right, well, we'll move on and we'll see what else there is on the playlist. What else is there? We can move over again to the magnetic pickup. I'll just bring the microphone over. And last week we heard Gildek play Ragamuffin Romeo. I think we can probably hear the other side to that, which is the It Happened in Monterey piano solo with a scratch orchestra. Not literally, but certainly metaphorically in the grand tradition of 20s dance band. This is late 20s, recorded in Sydney, and let's have a listen. VK3SL, we're testing here, of course. Oh, very sweet. That was the music of Gildek and the Studio Scratch Group, and recorded in the late 20s on a Columbia, an Australian Columbia. I'll just take this stylus off. And yeah, something sort of a bit more soporific to sort of bring the mood down a little bit. But I think we might change gear again and have something from a more exotic location. We're going back to the Czech Republic. Those of you who know me know that I did spend quite some time there. Kate and I lived in the Czech Republic on 2 occasions. And in our experience there, we got to know the music of Susanna Nazarova. And I found one of her CDs the other day. We sort of turned up while sifting through a pile of CDs in the collection, and so I think we'll feature one of these, one of her songs. So why not have something? Now I can actually do this in stereo. So those of you who feel inclined, I will turn off the mono button now. There we go, it's off, and we'll see what happens when I start this rolling. VK3SL, we're testing on 162 meters. Oh, you've heard of this, it's boring, isn't it? Okay, well, let's get on with the show.
Hubená noc přisedla si s otráveným vínem. Hledá holka přikryla tmu černým baldachínem. Divá jízda na Parnasu, holka z okalový řasu, ještě chvíli slyším basu purpurovým stínem. Hubená noc přisedla si, pobaveně zvadla. Hledá holka přikryla tmu, koukla do zrcadla. Zablízklo se nad Parnasem, marně hodil básník lasem, drobná píseň tenkým hlasem zachřadla až schřadla. Kde jste mý kumpáni na hořklých nocích? Kde jste mý piráti houpuse v bocích? Kde jste mé přízraky povledlých svic? Vezte mě tramvaje do Bokovic. Hubená noc přisedla si s otráveným vínem. Bledá holka přikryla tmu černým baldachínem. Ztratila se v nočním dešti moje tramvaj ve mý nešť. I básník ten jak tokaj z Pešti koktal na mě s vínem. Nem, tudum piráti na hořklých nocích. Kde jste mý kumpáni houpuse v bocích? Kde jste mé přízraky pobledlých svic? Vezte mě tramvaje do Bokovic. Kde jste mé přízraky pobledlých svic? Vezte mě tramvaje do Bokovic. Hubená noc přisedla si, pobaveně zvadla. Bledá holka přikryla tmu, koukla do zrcadla. Divá jízda na Parnasu, moje tramvaj mění trasu. Ještě chvíli slyším basu, zachřadla až schřadla. Kde jste mý piráti na hořklých nocích? Kde jste mý kumpáni v tichnoucích krocích? Zdravím vás přízraky a pak už nic, jenom ty tramvaje do Bokovic. Zdravím vás přízraky a pak už nic, jenom ty tramvaje do Bokovic. Nem tudum piráti na hořklých nocích. Kde jste mý kumpáni, houpuse v bocích? Kde jste mé přízraky pobledlých svic? Vezte mě tramvaje do Bokovic. Kde jste mé přízraky pobledlých svic? Vezte mě tramvaje do Bokovic. Haj, la, 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 la.
Well, there we go. That was the music of Susanna Nazarova and her ensemble, recorded back in the 1990s and the 90s. And I think there's more where that came from. I think we might move and play another one from them. They are a great ensemble, and I've got to find the button. Where is it? I need to advance. Here we go. On to track 7 now. I'll listen to another, I think, and then I'm sort of feeling deeply nostalgic. When I hear this music, it brings back lots of memories, and it's very full-flavoured music, I think. Of course, for test purposes, that's a disclaimer, a universal disclaimer that I have to say at every turn. VK3SL.
Na oblohu leze luna, stane se jen, co stát se má. Možná, že mi praskne struna, možná budou hvězdy tvrdě spát. Ale to je úděl zasněný. Dneska odchod, zítra bez ceny, ztracený. Modrý sen mi hlavou bloudí, jako děti budeme si hrát. Netouží bejt žádnej velký bonviván, ale štveho, že se musí jenom zdát. Nechce slyšet vůni světla, nebýt vězněm noci na pořád. Soske kána kvírává, soske mesovává, soske kána kvírává, soske megilává. Na oblohu leze luna, stane se jen, co stát se má. Možná, že mi praskne struna, možná budou hvězdy tvrdě spát. Ale to je úděl zasněný. Dneska odchod, zítra bez ceny, ztracený. Modrý sen mi hlavou bloudí, jako děti budeme si hrát. Soske kána kvírává, soske mesovává, soske kána kvírává, soske megilává.
Okay, I don't really know the name of the vocalist on that. It was Susanna Nazarova's ensemble, and with the male vocalist in that group. This is Czech folk music, recorded in the 1990s. I mentioned last week that Susanna Nazarova actually lived in the flat below us at the Monday Museum in outer Prague, and that was we didn't know her. Really, we heard her music, but she was a great spirit, an enduring spirit, really. We'll move on. I might play another one from this because I'm sort of in that nostalgic phase of mind. I haven't got a lot of initiative tonight, so sorry guys, it's going to be a bit boring. We'll play another and then I'll collect my thoughts and find something else to play. I was just kicking back and reminiscing actually just before, but that's the way things happen. This is a very deeply sentimental space, I'm afraid. VK3SL, we're testing of course.
Jak sladko, jak volno, hořko nám bylo, tak sladko, tak volno, hořko a milo. Co křídel, co zvonů, z Varšavy domů a v srdci zas místa, jak pianista, sladko a volno, hořko nám bylo, tak sladko, tak volno, dolče a milo. Co křídel, co zvonů, co ústa hromů, spí poutník, spí střela, i doutník od Fidela, la, 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 la. La, 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 la. La, 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 la. La, 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 la. Nad ránem zakřičel pták. Řekni mi, jak sladko, jak volno, hořko nám bylo, tak sladko, tak volno a venku lilo, co z křídel, co z básně, tak z čista jasně a hedvábně krutě zní píseň pro labutě. La, 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 la. Zakřičel pták. Řekni mi,
That's not acceptable. How dare she do that? It's suddenly... Oh, we can't have this. This is what happens with ancient CD players. And I have been lazy, I will admit that. Never mind. That's a pity. Well, we'll look for something else now. Look something else. No, I was just getting into that. Maybe we can go back to track one. Track one would probably work better because I was just sort of kicking back and enjoying that. And yes, have the audacity to do that. Well, let's see if track one works. VK3SL.
Jak jsou si všichni podobní, když nade mnou se skláníš, těch polomů, těch povodní, kdo za krysu, kdo za myš, jak jsou si všichni podobní, když nade mnou se lekáš, jak slova báby porodní, když řekne jen to nekáš, spěcháš, čau.
Palo foros, čau, paní, čau. Mamo Melana, káma, čau. Palo foros, čau, paní, čau. Mamo Melana, káma.
Jak jsou mi všichni na blízku, to archa v horách kotví, tak pod večerem na blízku jdou se mnou moji mrtví.
Čau, Palo foros, čau, paní, čau. Mamo Melana, káma, čau. Palo foros, čau, paní, čau. Mamo Melana, káma, čau, paní, čamore. Mamo Melana, káma. Čau, paní, čamore. Mamo Melana, káma.
Jak jsou si všichni podobní, když nade mnou se skláníš, jak polomů těch povodní, kdo za krysu, kdo za myš. Jak jsou si všichni podobní, když nade mnou se lekáš, jak slova báby porodní, řekne jen to nekáž, spěcháš.
Čau, Paulo Foros, čau, paní, čau. Mamo Melana Kama, čau. Paulo Foros, čau, paní, čau. Mamo Melana Kama.
Tak je mi všechno daleko, i polibky, i facky. Už hoří keř, už taje kov, už slyším křičet racky.
Čau, Paulo Foros, čau, paní, čau. Mamo Melana Kama, čau. Paulo Foros, čau, paní, čau. Mamo Melana Kama, čau, paní, jamore. Mamo Melana Kama, čau, paní, jamore. Mamo Melana Kama. Městem valí se voda, čau. Paulo Foros, čau, paní, čau. Městem valí se voda, čau.
Čau, paní, jamore. Mamo Melana
Kama, čau.
Čau, paní, jamore. Mamo
Melana Kama, čau. Paulo Foros, čau, paní, čau. Mami, já vodu nechci, čau. Paulo Foros, čau, paní, čau. Mami, já vodu nechci,
čau, paní, jamore. Mamo Melana
Kama,
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 čau, paní, jamore. Mamo
Melana Kama,
čau, paní, jamore. Mamo Melana
Kama.
Well, I'm pleased we made it all the way through that one. We've been hearing a selection of Czech folk music from the 1990s and headed by Susanna Nazarova, who sadly died of cancer a few years ago. Yeah, she died young and tragically. And yeah, but she made quite a few CDs, and I was pleased to rediscover them, or at least one of them. So we might include more of her music. I find Czech folk music very authentic. It has a very natural feel, and yes, it's not pretentious. They're a wonderful culture, the Czechs. Okay, well, what we'll do now is delve into something that's a little bit sort of upbeat jazz-like. I've got a couple of jazz offerings, and I just took a random reach into the 10-inch vinyl shelf and picked out a record from the Diaphon label in 1952. Now, this is a record made in Sydney with the Horidagi concert. So this is the Harlequinette, it says. Horidagi's Harlequinette. With the Horidagi, Joe Hudson, Vern Moore, Reg Cantwell and Doc Burton. Well, that's what it says on the label. I've never really listened to this. It's a stab in the dark, but let's give it a go. I've got to give the SP10 a bit of a run and see what happens. VK3SL.
Summer kisses
the song. But I miss you most of all, my darling. When autumn leaves start to
Right, that was from an LP, a very early LP from 1952, recorded in Sydney, Horidagi Concert, says here. Now, the musician that stood out for me in that recording was the pianist, Mr. Reg Cantwell. What happened to him? I wonder. Yeah, that was a process of discovery. It wasn't particularly alarming. Yeah, step in the dark, as I said, but that's the way things work around here. We test things on the fly. It's a very spontaneous approach. And some things are good, some things are not so good, and some things are terrible. Well, that's sort of somewhere in between, but the piano playing was quite pleasant. I did have a preview of this next one, a little bit of a preview, and it's a live performance of Nina Simone, and I know there are a few people listening in, potentially listening in at least, who may enjoy Nina Simone's music. So this is one of her classics, My Baby Just Cares For Me, but it's a live performance. So we always go for live performances if we can. Always a lot more interesting. So let's see what happens. We'll have a listen to this, and one found it on the tube, and we'll hear the extended version of Nina Simone's My Baby Just Cares For Me. And I'm VK3SL, testing.
Knows it. My baby
Well, that is actually quite fascinating. It's late Nina Simone. She's not at her best vocally, but pianistically, it's remarkable what she's doing. She's improvising in a Baroque style that's very Baroque with all those figurations, a bit Bachian, a bit Handelian, and she's going for it. And her vocalizations, although the live PA system didn't quite do her justice, is remarkably intuitive, and it just goes to show what a total musician she is. She's a musician who's completely and utterly breathes music. So, alrighty, well, we'll keep moving, and I think after that, I picked another EP off the shelf, or LP, early 10-inch LP. I don't go to the 12-inch LPs, it's all 10-inch LPs here, if we can help it. And so we'll have a listen now to good old Eartha Kitt. Now, Eartha Kitt, of course, is well known to most people, and her music is thoroughly and utterly sensuous. VK3SL, Tantalized.
Sous les ponts de Paris, lorsque descend la nuit, toutes sortes de gueux se foulevillent en cachette et sont heureux de trouver une cochette au hôtel du Curandeur, où l'on ne paye pas cher. Le peu fin et l'eau, c'est pour rien, mon marquis, sous les ponts de Paris, sur les ponts de Paris. Quel rendez-vous. My darling, why I sing this song is easy to explain. It tells what happens all along the bridges of the Seine. The vagabonds go there at night to sleep all their troubles away. But when the moon is shining bright, my heart wants to sing it this way. How would you like to be down by the Seine with me? Oh, what I'd give for a moment or two under the bridges of Paris with you. Darling, I'd hold you tight, far from the eyes of night. Under the bridges of Paris with you, I'd make your dreams come true. Chérie, je vous apporter mes bras. Je vous apporter mon cœur. Je vous apporter all my love. Sur les ponts de Paris, lorsque descend la nuit, under the bridges of Paris with you, I'd make your dreams come true. I'd make your dreams come true.
That was Eartha Kitt, from an album called That Bad Eartha. Eartha Kitt, who of course was Catwoman and a strong advocate for civil rights. She did lots of things in her life, had a long life. She died last year, was it, or fairly recently? All right, that was, we're sort of just playing things off the cuff here. I've just reached up onto the shelf and found a few records to keep the SP10 spinning, and I might go back over to the 78 soon. Now, I did mention that we're in dream sequence here tonight. Yes, I had that wonderful dream. We heard Ted Rafe and his orchestra at the beginning playing Dream a Little Dream for Me. There's also a great recording of Doris Day singing the same song a few decades later. Now, if I play this, I know this is probably a little bit too middle of the road for some people, but we'll put this on and then I'll get back on my horse. I'll wake myself up and we will find something a little bit more illuminating, perhaps. So let's have Doris Day, Dream, Little Dream of Me.
Stars shining bright above you. Night breezes seem to whisper, I love you. Birds singing in the sycamore trees. Dream a little dream of me. Say nighty night and kiss me. Just hold me tight and tell me you'll miss me while I'm alone and blue as can be. Dream a little dream of me. Stars fading, but I linger on, dear. Still craving your kiss. I'm longing to linger till dawn, dear. Just saying this. Sweet dreams till sunbeams find you. Sweet dreams that leave all worries behind you. But in your dreams, whatever they be, dream a little dream of me. Stars fading, but I linger on, dear. Still craving your kiss. I'm longing to linger till dawn, dear. Just saying this. Sweet dreams till sunbeams find you. Sweet dreams that leave all worries behind you. But in your dreams, whatever they be, dream a little dream of me. Dream a little dream of me. Dream a little dream of me.
Right, there we have it. That was Doris Day. It's very middle of the road, isn't it? That's really quite out of my past band. Saw it there and I thought it might have been a good follow-on, but pretty soupy. Yeah, I don't specialise in soupy music. It sounds good with selected fade. What else have we got? What else have we got in the pile? I'm really sort of left wanting at the moment. So I'm going through the pile as I speak. Now, I need some spectacles because I can't read these 78 labels. Now, let me check. Is the yes, the magnetic pickup's still ready to go. Got lots of 78s here. Going through the pile. Oh, here we go. Du Bois Summers Band. That could be good. Chloe's Song of the Swamp. So lots of swamps down at Port Albert. Have a listen to Chloe's Song of the Swamp. The Denzer Dance Band. They could be anyone. Could be anyone masquerading as the Denzer Dance Band, who are breaking their contractual obligations and playing for Colombia. We'll give it a go, see what it's like. As I said, these are test missions. We don't really preview things a great deal. It's an educated guess at best. But we'll see what this is like. Chloe, Song of the Swamp. This goes back to the 20s again. We're back to 20s dance band music, but who cares? All right, we'll get that magnetic pickup down into the groove. Not the grave, but the groove. Here we go. I think we're right now. VK3SL.
Black of night, I gotta go where you are. If it's wrong or right, I gotta go where you are. I'll roam through the dismal swampland, searching for you. 'Cause if you are lost there, let me be there too. Through the smoke and flame, I gotta go where you are. Oh, no place could be too far. Where you are, ain't no change can find you. If you live, I'll find you. Love is calling me. I gotta go where you are.
Yes, an old Columbia 78 from the late 1920s. I better get the label off, get the stylus off before it tears the label apart. We're meandering here on 160 metres and 2 metres. It's just one of these things that happens. Looking for something here and I can't find it. I'm going to scroll through. I listened to something the other day which just blew my socks off. It was really extraordinary. It's one of those social discourses. It's one of those programs from the 1940s which really exhibits the paternalistic nature of our society, which is probably still just as bad, but it's only become more suave. But if I'm looking now as I speak, I'm scrolling through, and there was one good one about handling marital conflicts, which I thought was most excellent indeed. It's helped me with my marital conflicts. But we're scrolling on, And we've got another one says, what makes a good party? That's also very staid. But there was one that was so extraordinary. Habit patterns from 1954 could be the one. It's one on The Sixth Sense. Another one, Snap Out of It. One, The Outsider. These are all sort of social commentaries about personal hygiene for young women. I won't play that one. But we're scrolling, and we might find maybe it's the habit patterns. I'll play a bit of it anyhow, and if it's not the one, we'll follow on next week. This is VK3SL we're testing.
It's a little late for tears, isn't it, Barbara? Even though you didn't know it was going to happen today, you've still had your whole life to prepare for it. Of course, you've gotten into the habit of not being prepared. And now it's a little late, isn't it? You're a creature of habit, Barbara. We all are. Unfortunately, not all of your habits are good ones. This was how your day started. Started wrong. Your neighbor, Helen, is a creature of habit, too. But she got up when the alarm went off. Because, Barbara, that's what she really had in mind when she said it. Helen has trained herself to know what she's going to do, in what order, and where the things are to do it with. She really doesn't have to think about it. She already knows what clothes she's going to wear today. As it turned out, it was a special day for Helen, too. But she makes a habit of being ready for special days. She starts by having a place for things and keeping them there. She uses taste in selecting her clothes. But more than that, she keeps them clean and mended. And she's able to match the right skirt with the right sweater. This was going to be a special day for you, but you hadn't gotten very far with your preparations for it. Was your whole family asleep? No, your mother was up. Had been for an hour.
Barbara! Barbara, get up. You'll be late for school.
Does she have to do this every morning, Barbara?
Barbara, do you hear me?
If your mother stopped acting like a second alarm clock for even one day, you'd probably think it was a dirty...
For Pete's sake, I hear you. I'm up.
You didn't seem at all appreciative. Even if you're not really well-mannered, you could make a habit of being civil. And you weren't really up when your mother called you. Little lies are such a firm foundation for big ones. You started your day with no plan at all. Looking for your hairbrush? Can't remember where you left it? You forgot other important things today. You meant to fix that collar, but you've gotten into the habit of putting things off. There are so many things you plan to do this coming Saturday or the one after that. Let's see. You found the algebra notebook you lost. The ski pants you meant to put away in the chest. The afghan you started to knit last summer. And, oh yes, the sweater you were looking for. You decided to cover the spots on your sweater with a scarf. You often do that. But you can't forget that the spots are there. If you had a habit plan for your mornings, you might get off to a decent start someday. Helen has a habit plan, and it includes a healthy breakfast and a pleasant word with her parents. All three always enjoyed Mr. Elliott's comments on the news. It was time to get started for office and school. Helen's dad would drop her on the way downtown. And who could ask for a nicer way to go to school? Your brother was ready, but your father couldn't wait for you. Or you could have driven to school with him. He used to enjoy that drive, too. Your eggs were cold this morning, but you had no time to be picky about food or to think about your diet. No time for milk or even to say good morning. No time for manners. You made a pretty picture with your rumpled skirt, your spotted sweater, and your hair in a tizzy. As usual, all your neighbors knew how late it was when you went by at your regular dog trot. You were late for school this morning, but then you're almost always late, and you're guilty about it. More so because your lateness is habitual. You're in a rut with a bad habit, and the longer you stick with the habit, the deeper the rut gets. When you saw Helen, you suddenly felt envious. But more than that, you felt a distaste for your sloppy ways. And you knew you could do something about them if only... That wasn't a happy thought, was it? Or do you always drum with your fingers? You were just chatting away with Helen when it happened, when the day suddenly turned into something special. You've never been friends with Ann Tolliver, and you've always wanted to be.
Hi. Hi. Some of the crowd's coming over to my house right after school. Do you think you two could make it?
Well, that'd be fun, Anne. I'd love to.
Swell. Well, what do you say, Bobby? Sure, thanks. Okay, see you later. Bye.
That'll be fun, won't it?
Oh, yes.
Bye.
Each school year sees new groups forming, old ones reforming. Yours is a changing social world, and the opportunities to be part of it must be taken when they arise. You knew this afternoon that you were making a bad impression, and you knew how easy it is not to be invited again, and how quickly you can be left out of the crowd. You were embarrassed by your messy hair and the fingernails you had neglected to clean. You worried about the spots on your sweater, Barbara. But what really showed up were your habits. You didn't find it very pleasant comparing yourself with the others.
What? I said, what do you think?
You weren't listening. You seldom do. It's a habit of yours.
I guess I don't know much about it.
They were talking about a popular book. All your friends were interested, but you never got into the habit of reading books.
The whole problem was that Claudia wanted to be free to do all the things she'd never been allowed to do.
Well, that was her whole reason for leaving her family. And then she married back to the same kind of lying.
Well, that's why I think the book's stupid. Why couldn't she have seen...
No, you added nothing to that conversation.
The trouble with me is getting started. I always have to force myself to do new things.
I'm the same way. I didn't even want to go to my first concert because I thought it would be too long-haired. Oh, but the music is wonderful. I'm going to go to the whole series.
My mother had to drag me to the museum. But they have a wonderful costume exhibit there. I got an idea for a new dress.
Oh, what kind?
You've never taken an interest in music or politics or art.
We always go to the beach. Every year we take a cottage at Essex.
You've only been once.
There's wonderful swimming and lots of boys. It's quiet where we go. And there are tennis courts at the hotels, too, and dances every weekend. It sounds grand. And it's just a short way to the city.
You couldn't help interrupting, could you? And you couldn't help stretching truth like a rubber band. We all like to talk about ourselves. But a soliloquy isn't a conversation. First, you didn't talk at all, and then you did all the talking. Conversation is a two-way street. But for you, it's either one way or a dead end.
Goodbye. I hope you had a very nice time.
Thank you. I did.
Bye. See you tomorrow. Goodbye, Barbara. I hope you enjoyed yourself. Oh, thank you. Bye.
In all society, at all ages, we know that people are going to talk about other people. Unfortunately, our faults are often more discussed than our good points. And sometimes our good points are completely hidden by our faults. But perhaps worst of all is our own disappointment in ourselves and the remarks we imagine our friends are making about us.
Gee, I think dirty fingernails are horrible.
Maybe she felt shy. A spotted sweater isn't shyness. And bad manners are still bad manners no matter what you call them.
Now, in your own room, the memory of this day stands between you and your whole pattern of behavior. Where will you start? Your complexion? That starts with soap and water and goes on to regular meals and the right kind of food. Your hair? It's more than just a shampoo when you happen to think of it. Your clothes? Not just cleaned when your mother takes them away from you, but a system of cleaning. For all a pattern, a network of habits. Helen checks her clothes for cleaning when she takes them off. That's a habit of hers. This morning, Helen took her skirt from the front of the closet. Tonight, she hangs it in the back. That's a habit, too. One on the plus side. It gives clothes a chance to hang, rests the fabric. Tonight, Helen makes a plan for tomorrow. A what to wear, what to do, when to do it, design for living. Helen has the habit of being ready for special days. Good habits save time and energy and give us greater freedom to do those extra things we want to do. Yes, a good start. But these improvements are not yet habits, not by any means. They must happen again and again until they fit into the fabric of the days without conscious thought. If you try, really try, you can root out the poor, accidental habits and establish in their place the good habits approved by custom, accepted by society. Across the street, Helen's light goes out. Reasonable hours are part of her pattern. And you, Barbara? Well, you've had a hard day. But staying awake to think about it won't help it any. Go to bed early for a change. Give yourself a good start on a new day.
Well, I hope everyone enjoyed that lesson in positive psychology. And of course, we all should form really good habits. Habits like keeping the grass short, mowing the lawns, pressing trousers, making sure that your suit is placed in the wardrobe with a little bit of space between the other clothes. Clean ironed bed sheets and handkerchiefs. Tuning up the transmitter correctly. Yes, we should all take great care in all of our disciplines to make sure that we are the perfect citizens, the citizens who affect the discourse of society. Yes, habit patterns. I think that was a very important educational video, and it certainly sharpened up my perceptions. I feel like now that I can be more in touch with my projects, more in touch with my decision making, and I can realise my dreams. Well, what have I got next? Not much time for the classical material. I've been listening to more Lily Boulanger this week. She's a French composer who was working in the early days of the century. She died tragically very young. She died of TB at the age of 24, and that was in 1918. She composed quite a bit of music in her youth, and they're pieces of amazing breadth and intrigue and freshness there. She's really a trailblazer, but like so many young people who met their demise early on, they sort of fall between the cracks and we don't sort of hear about them much. But look, Lily Boulanger is a great composer, and I want to celebrate her music. Now, she wrote a tone poem called D'un soir triste, and I have to say I turned this up loud on the Type 3 speakers and it sounded incredible. So let's have a listen again to the music of Lily Boulanger, and we're sort of going to bring us close to the end, but we'll find something to follow. This is VK3SL, and we're testing, of course. That was the music of Lily Boulanger, D'un Soir Twist, and one of her last compositions actually before she passed away from TB at the age of 24. Remarkable composer, and I did compile a playlist which I had dutifully downloaded to the iPod, and I was prepared to sit there in my dream boat on the way to a dream island and listen to as many of the works as I could of Lily Boulanger. She's the artist of the month for me, and all her music's entrancing and very much imbued with impressionistic spice and effect. It's just wondrous. You can hear Debussy's influence strongly. We played a few items of hers last week, including work for violin and piano, if I recall, a nocturne, that's right. But there are about 24 compositions which circulate in the repertoire, and I think that she would have been one of the most gifted composers of her time if she had lived on. Sadly, she didn't, but we do have this legacy, and it's great music to celebrate. I just think that the richness of that composition we just heard is something to behold. Amazing colours and textures. All right, well, we'll wind up shortly. We've got a couple of things, and we have a time-honoured tradition of playing recordings of contraltos, great contraltos, and I had a bit of a dredge through the shelf before, sifted through some records, and found an early recording of Edna Thornton. And I'm going to move the microphone to bring it a bit closer to the record. And it's Sunshine and Rain, and I don't know who the composer is, but it's a recording made by Edna Thornton in the early days of the century. This record goes way, way back to about 1905. It's a single-sided xylophone on very heavy shellac, and so we'll have a listen to this. I think it's good to celebrate contraltos. I have a thing about contraltos, so why not? So let's see how this goes. It goes to about 3.5 minutes, but we're harking back to the early days of the century. The music of Miss Thornton.
There is
Okay, that harks way back to the early days of the century on an extremely heavy 78. The weight of this is worth the weight of about 5 records. It's so heavy, so thick. It's only one-sided as well. We heard Madam Edna Thornton with orchestral accompaniment, recorded in London in about 1905. Sunshine and Rain, bit of a potboiler. But she had a beautiful voice. She was a great Wagnerian singer, and she had a long career as well. She died in the early 60s, I think, and she was born in the mid-70s, 1870s. All right, I'm going to wind up in a minute, but I've got 2 more things. I found a record I want to listen to myself, and haven't tested this yet. It's Albert Sandler and his orchestra, speaking of potboiler palm court groups, but he's playing Salute d'Amour from Elgar. It's a beautiful piece, and I'd just like to hear the way he plays it. This is recorded at the Park Lane Hotel in London. I hope it's electric. I think it probably is. So we'll try this on the platter, on the turntable, with the magnetic pickup, and we'll have a listen to this first, and then there's a final offering after this. VK3SL. Well, the Edwardians certainly knew how to do rubato. There we go. That was Albert Sandler and the orchestra. A very heartfelt rendition of Elgar's Salute d'Amour. And I wanted to hear that because that was recorded in Elgar's time. And Mr. Sandler was a very well-respected musician. And it was interesting to hear the approach to the work, certainly very much steeped in the romantic tradition. But it was fine to my ears. Good to hear. All right, then, we'll wind up at this point and we'll have a listen to something. We're going to jump about 9 decades now. I think it's nice to finish with something a bit contemporary. And last week we played the music of Katie Melua, and we'll do it again this week. And one of her fave pieces is The Closest Thing to Crazy. And I think that's sort of fitting end to tonight's missions. It has been a bit of a crazy missions. We've just meandered from one topic to the other. Not a lot of continuity, but that's what this is about. It's an indulgence, and it's following the lead. The dream prevails. Well, I'm hoping I wake up and I'm somewhere else, but I'm less inclined to think that's going to happen. Never mind, we stay in hope. All right, then we'll say cheers for now. I'll listen back on 2 meters on Channel D. We've got the cavity filter in place now, so that's all a good thing, and we'll see how things go. So we shall finish off. If I wake up the mouse, we're going to do this off the YT rather than the CD. And let's hear the music of Katie Ballou, and I'll say cheers for now, and I think I'll be around next week. I should be around next week, but never say never, or never commit to anything. You just let nature take its course. VK3SL.
I think I'm standing strong, yet feel the air beneath my feet. How can happiness feel so wrong? How can misery feel so sweet? How can you let me watch you sleep? Then break my dreams the way you do. How can I have got in so deep? Why did I fall in love with you? This is the closest thing to crazy I have ever been. Feeling 22, acting 17. This is the nearest thing to crazy I have ever known. I was never crazy on my own, and now I know that there's a link between the two. Being close to craziness and being close to you. How can you make me fall apart, then break my fall with loving lies? It's so easy to break a heart. It's so easy to close your eyes. How can you treat me like a child? Yet like a child I yearn for you. How can anyone feel so wild? How can anyone feel so blue? This is the closest thing to crazy I have ever been. Feeling 22, acting 17. This is the nearest thing to crazy I have ever known. I was never crazy on my own, and now I know that there's a link between the two. Being close to craziness and being close to you.